Return, O virgin daughter of Israel, to these your highways by which you went. Welcome to Reunion Roadmap, a place to discover the people and communities along the highway of restoration for Israel's house of Joseph. Reunion Roadmap is a B'nai Yosef North America production. Be our guest for the next hour as we meet the people of the emerging house of Joseph here in North America. Hello, this is Tzefania Pappas of B'nai Yosef North America, and with me is Al McCarn, our executive director, and we're going to J, Georgia, to talk to somebody, and it's kind of like somebody that I would be looking at the mirror at.
Well, it could be. We could talk about an echo chamber, literally, because it would be inside your head. Yes, we are going to the second part of our three-part conversation with Tzefania Pappas. And this is where, Tzefania, we're actually not in LJ in this part of the interview.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, we're going to be most of the time in Cape Town, South Africa, which is where you sojourned at the beginning of this present century. And this is also where you tell the story of the March through the Arch in St. Louis.
Yes.
What I would want to ask, though, because I didn't ask you this question in the interview, is what work were you doing in Cape Town?
I was working as, before I ended up leaving there, I was working as a psychometrist in the HR department for Old Mutual. I was a contractor for Old Mutual Life Assurance Company.
You just used a word I have not heard before.
Yes.
Psychometrist?
Yes. A psychometrist is a technician. They exist in pretty much the British Commonwealth countries, starting to emerge here in the United States, and they work with neuropsychologists. And all they are is a technician trained to give particular tests. That could be a Wechsler, Stanford Binet Intelligence Test. It could be a Myers-Briggs personality inventory. It could be some mathematical and verbal tests. They cannot interpret them. The psychologist is the one that interprets them. But that was used as a mechanism to shortlist candidates and then, come to the conclusion of who you want to hire for your company. And they were able to do that in South Africa. United States, they don't do that type of thing. In fact, they might even say it's illegal to do that even.
Now, I could see where that might be so. All right, so that's what pays the bills while you're doing your kingdom work in Cape Town.
By faith, too, because they called me only when they needed me. And it was just, the Father always provided. I had enough work.
Well, with that as introduction, let's hear about what happened during those years in Cape Town.
I was in correspondence with Ephraim Frank through email. He'd write to me one time that he was out on his walking in Alfei Menashe, I think that's how they say it, which means the thousands of Menashe. And that's where they were living, their first community that they were in. When I knew them, that they were living in that community. And he said while he was walking around the community, he just was thinking about our emails, and he says, almost seems like we've known each other for years. And then another walk, he's walking out, and he didn't know, I didn't share anything with him about plans that I was having, and I was praying into this. And I said, some of the type of fleece I was laying out there that the Father had me is that those who would come to speak at this conference would be those who just want to come by faith, because here in South Africa, there's not a whole lot of money to go around. And so what happened is that Ephraim writes an email again. He says, I was walking through my settlement during my prayer time and the Father spoke to me that I'm to come to South Africa. I said, oh. Then I said, well, that's kind of interesting. You should say that, because I've been praying about something. And so then he was very open to that idea about having a conference over in Cape Town. And so in the meantime, what had happened before he made that trip, Eddie Chumney had come to Israel, and he and Eddie had started talking. And he said to Eddie, he says, wow, it'd be great if you could actually come to South Africa as well. Tzefania has this thing going on about this conference, and and he's going to do it about about all of Israel coming together. He says, wow, that would be awesome if you could come. And Eddie was all in. And so he was going to come too. And so what happened is I started writing up, sort of like a kind of a program of how things were going to go and everything. And the way I wrote out was I put Ephraim speaking first, and then Eddie and everything like that. Well, through the correspondence with Eddie, Ephraim wanted Eddie to speak first, and he says, "Well, wait a minute. This document that Tzefania put out, he has you speaking first." And I wanted him to speak first because Ephraim's been in this for so long, and that's my thought on it. He's kind of like the senior wise man for counsel for all of Israel. I think as everybody gets to know Ephraim and Ramona, they're really that way. But anyway, Ephraim thought that Eddie should speak first, and he says, "Oh, what do we got to tell Tzefania about this?" No, the Ruach will take care of it. So then what happened is Ephraim's flight is running late. Eddie had to speak first. Another friend had to go pick up Ephraim, and by the time Ephraim arrived at the place, Eddie had just finished speaking.
Yes, the Ruach took care of it.
So, and there's so many other things that went on. Ephraim later on, that we were people just out of the abundance of their heart. We never passed a plate or anything. We just had a box in the back and said, if you were blessed by this, it was totally free. That's what I said. If we're going to do this, this has to be totally free because we need to get the word out. We supplied food for people. We supplied water for people. And we said this was totally free. And people out of the abundance of their heart put in this box in the back. And there was enough funds there to bless Eddie to where he was going to go, and bless Ephraim where he was going to go, because he was not going to go to two other places also in South Africa as well. And so Ephraim, when he got on the bus, which we were able to pay from those funds, he got on the bus and he ended up sitting right next to a woman who her and her husband were missionaries, and she was going to go join her husband. And she starts questioning Ephraim, and Ephraim says that he's from Israel, and she just perks up. Like she's kind of like all ears now. And he proceeds to share about the whole gospel of the kingdom all the way till it's time to get off the bus, or she's off the bus. And so planting seeds like that in South Africa, it was just amazing. And she said she was going to go bring this message to her husband. And so Ephraim's there in Port Elizabeth, spending some time there. And then from there, he went to Johannesburg. And now what had happened is that when I had been organizing this conference, there's some people from Nigeria had written to me. And these people in Nigeria had said that we had heard about this conference and we got a hold of your email, and we would really like to come. A lot of complications to pulling something like that off, because, the South African government saw Nigeria very suspiciously as, having illegals coming in, and they, didn't want to do that. Then they had to get all kinds of paperwork of approvals from different people about coming in, and just wasn't able to pull it off in time of the conference. And I felt really bad about it because these people really wanted to come. And so Ephraim is in Johannesburg, and he's at a meeting where he's talking, and there was a man there who was from Nigeria, and he started talking about the gospel of the kingdom again. And he is just all excited, this Nigerian man. He says, I am bringing this to my people in Nigeria. So the Father has a way, no matter what. The Father has a way, and he will make a way. And then now to culminate this all off, this was now years later after now, I'm coming back to the States 2003, and in an amazing way, Abba put myself and Raina together, and it was just a total miracle. And if anybody wants to find out about that, get my email, and we've written the testimony out. We'll get it to you because it's quite lengthy, but it just ties into everything that the Father is about. And so what happened is that we went to a unleavened bread conference in Knoxville, Tennessee. This was years later now. We'd been married, I think, already probably about 5 years at that point, five or more years. And there's a singer there from South Africa, and the Father was just working on my heart about that I'm an exile, and I was in tears thinking about this, and I thought, when will it end? Because this is a punishment, and this is not my home. And I was just crying when I shared that with everybody there. There was a time where you could share different things, and I shared that with people, and he was all ears when I said that. And so what he did is that his next song that he was singing was that, how can I sing a song from Zion in a foreign land? And it was just an amazing song. And you probably know this man. His name is Andrew Hodkinson.
Yes, I thought it might have been Andrew Hodkinson.
And so we talked to Andrew later after we had a meal and everything, and we were talking, and we started comparing notes and that type of thing. And I told him I was in Cape Town, South Africa for 5 years. And I says, well, he says, what were you doing while you were over there? And I mentioned the things, and I mentioned this conference on Israel. And the conference on Israel, he ended up getting a hold of tapes from that conference. And he was just amazed. He says, what? I got tapes from that conference. And that was when I was really searching. The Father was starting to speak to me about some certain things. And those were the answers that I needed that was on those tapes. He says, wow. And you and a team of people had put this conference together? Wow, this is amazing how the Father can make connections like this, he was saying. And also what happened too, even out of that, is that Eddie had the person I was working with said, well, Eddie was talking about coming, because he came a second time. We had a second conference, and Eddie was just the speaker. And then the third time, Eddie came as well. And this time he came where he was spending time with a Baptist church in Muizenberg, South Africa. I believe that's where it was located, or Constantia. One of those two places are fairly close to each other. And he started sharing with them about who they were and their identity. And the whole congregation, including the pastor and everything, all started walking into the feast and the Torah and everything.
Wow.
It was just incredible. So,
and this was right around 2001, 2002, 2003.
Okay, so this would have been in 2000, later somewhere in 2003, I believe. This when I was finally had been married now. And then he was saying, hey, Eddie, what do you think about Eddie coming over here a third time? I said, hey, brother, go for it. Yeah, just keep the work going. Keep it going,
So as we're recording now, you're talking about going on 20 years now since then.
Oh, yeah, yes.
And we can talk about the fruit that we have both seen from this. I mean, you've already mentioned that with Andrew Hodkinson. What a gifted musician. I had the great pleasure of meeting him in Israel at, I think it was the second BNASF Congress.
Exactly. So that was the second time I met him now. That was.
Yes. And that was the 2016 conference when you and I and Raina and many of our friends were in that same March of the Nations in Jerusalem.
Right. Yes.
So, wow. All right. So we get up to, when was it? Somewhere around 2008, I think you said you were in Knoxville, and that's where you met Andrew.
Somewhere around there. And I think, it probably happened before or after. Well, we had the event called the March Through the Arch.
Oh, yes.
We participated in all the Messianic Israel Alliance conferences. And what had happened is that there was this March Through the Arch that was taking place in St. Louis, Missouri. And we thought, wow, we gotta come there. We got to go to this. And so we definitely made our plans to go. And so while we're there, it's interesting when we arrive there, and before the main session starting, all of us are gathering outside, just talking. And I saw Ephraim and Ramona were there. We saw Dennis and Tertza D, who have Hands to the Land in Israel as well. They were there, and just reconnecting with people again. as you always do when it's another MIA conference, you have that happening. And so what happened is that we're talking to all these different people, and there's this other brother there, and I thought he was, I just really enjoyed talking with him and how he just kind of seemed to flow with the conversation that was going on. And well, lo and behold, this man, his name was Hanok Young. And so we kept a correspondence going since then. Yeah, so Hanok was actually, that's the first time we met. And we kept correspondence together till eventually, we hooked up, and he actually stayed in our home on one of his speaking engagements. He was in the area, and we said, "Hey, you can stay here."
And Hanoch, of all our brethren in Judah, Hanoch I think has been the longest in this path, in this calling to welcome Ephraim home.
Yes, yeah,
it's a testimony to his tenacity.
Oh yes,
and his belief not just in the word, in the promise, but in the God who's made the promise.
Yes.
So wow, and you met him in St. Louis.
Met him in St. Louis. And then what had happened is that the March Through the Arch was just an incredible experience. I really believe that something in the spiritual realm happened at that time. And the whole idea was that we were going to be marching through the arch. We were Ephraim coming trembling from the west. And as we trembled from the west, going through that arch from the west into the east side of the arch, we were there. And there's an obscure video out there that you can still see that's about the arch, March to the Arch. And what we did is I ended up putting onto my YouTube, Tzefania 77 YouTube channel that I had created, and I had to get the March Through the Arch on there. And the news channel was actually the local news channel reported on this event. And it was favorable. It really didn't get the essence of what it was about, but it was very favorable. Wow. And to see the different types of people that were there coming together and declaring their identity and who they were. You had indigenous people there. You had, and there was like a repentance, and there was a reconciliation that was taking place there. There were people of color there, just people with just European descent, the whole 9 yards. It was everything that was there. And you could actually look at that and look back, and you can say, man, was anything accomplished from that? And if you really look at it, I would say yes, because I believe explosions began to take place over the years of the Father beginning to echo his voice out from that time. And the echo continued to go out into people's ears until we are here where we are today, I believe. So
I would agree with you on that. Two things occurred to me. First of all, Tzefania, you participated in the calling of Israel back from the West and from the South.
Yes.
Because in Cape Town, that's so very near where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans meet. And you've probably been there to see the line where the two oceans meet, right?
I've seen it.
I've never been there. I've just seen the photographs, but it's stunning.
Yeah, it is.
So that's where East and West come together, but it's right there in the South.
Yeah.
And you helped with that, and then you were part of the calling from the West. And surely someone, I think I've met a few of them, were helping with Israel returning and opening the gates from the North and the East.
Yes.
So all of this is going on at the same time. In fact, people I've talked with who have been involved with helping Russian Jews make Aliyah in the 1990s, especially. The stories they have shared, that's some of the opening of the gates in the North.
Yeah.
So that occurs to me. And then the second thing that occurs to me is this. You know of the Vilna Gaon.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. The great rabbi that he's known in Judaism. In Christianity, no one knows he is.
No.
He died in 1800. He's called the Vilna Gaon. He's the wise man, the sage, the righteous sage from Vilna in Lithuania.
Yes.
That's where he died.
Yep.
And he was such a prophetic man. And he was speaking about Messiah's coming and the resurrection of Israel and the final redemption.
Yes.
Well, he died in 1800.
Yeah.
And many of his followers made Aliyah then.
Yes.
When Jerusalem and Israel is under control of the Ottoman Empire, that was, and then people might have said, okay, the Gaon is dead. What have we done?
Yeah.
But no, that there were seeds planted and nurtured.
Absolutely.
And they carried that with them to the holy city.
Yes. And in fact, he even spoke forth prophetically about Africa and its significance with Israel, and that those would there be those coming forth from the tribes from Africa.
Yes, and we are seeing that now.
Yeah.
In fact, we have interviewed some on the Reunion Roadmap program who I understand their identity as part of the tribes coming from Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a great thing. And now we look back and we honor people like Theodor Herzl and Chaim Weizmann.
Yes.
And so many others who were involved in the rebirth of Israel, in Judah's regathering and restoration.
Right.
We may not see it in our lifetime, but what we are involved in right now is what our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will be saying, we are reaping the fruit of this. Teshuvah provides our next musical offering, Faith in the Faithful, from their album Return, available at teshuvahmusic.com.
Children wandered the wilderness for 40 years. They saw the miracles, following the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Food fell like dew from heaven. Children sat and watched the Red Sea part, swallowing their enemies, freed them from captivity. Don't forget to remember the miracles, how we found and fell apart, not led into death, but saved from the utter dark. I will build my altar here, so when doubt creeps in, I know I won't forget to have faith in the faithful. Walked through the fire and still survived. My fragile heart despaired. Then I saw your hand was there. These times are hard, we're weary. We've prayed our hearts out 1,000 times. Have you deserted me? I'm still right here. Do you hear us? Can you see? Don't forget to remember the miracles, how we found and we fell apart, not led into death, but saved from the utter dark. I will build my altar here, so when doubt creeps in, I know I won't forget to have faith in the faithful. Silent night.
Shalom, everybody. Welcome to the Midrash portion of Reunion Roadmap. This is David Jones. With me today is Barry Phillips. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, David.
I'm thinking this morning on Psalm 133, Hine Matov Umanaim Shevarechim Gam Yachad. If you've been around for a little while, you don't need a translation of that. But for those who do, it's behold how good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. That's what the Father has called us to do. And that greatly depends not so much on what we believe as much as it is on what we do with what we believe. Where is our focus? Where is our vision? And that kind of led me to the thinking of division or division. Now, what's the difference? it's the same word, right? No. I think division as in a dual vision, or D-I-E, vision. Are we looking to separate and divide with one another and have differences of opinion and just all that? Or are we willing to die to self for the vision that Yahweh has given us?
Uh-huh.
I got an example. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Avram and Lot. Or Lot, right? What was the big deal between the two? And why did they have to separate? And how did all this happen? Well, we read because their herdsmen couldn't get along. It wasn't even so much that Avram and Lot could not get along. It was that the herdsmen could not get along. They were continually fighting all these things. So it's like these are their flocks. This is how they're living. And it just became such a source of contention that their households had to split. And so when it was put in front of them, Abraham told Lot to choose where you will, and I'll go the other direction. Lot looked out, and there's many different things you could say about this, but he looked out and he saw an area that was green, lush, plains. He had flocks, he had cattle. It looked like a very good business decision, a great place to be. He could buy and sell, have a good life for his family, all these things, but not taking into consideration that the people were corrupt. He just looked at his business and said, okay, well, that looks good, and I can raise my family there and provide for them there and do all this great stuff. And so he went that way. So leaving that alone for a second. After he separated, then Yahweh told Abraham, so this land that I'm showing you now, go up and look at it and see all this land, and you like that? Great, yeah. And well, I'm going to give you this land as far as you can see. After there was a separation of vision between the two of them, where now the households themselves could dwell in a place of unity, Abraham was blessed by Yahweh to then pursue what Yahweh had called him for in the first place. So there's a lot of different areas we can go with this, but one of the areas I see is we should not surround ourselves with contention and strife, and nor should we be ones to perpetrate it. Blessed are the peacemakers, right? Blessed are those who make peace. We're supposed to be sowing life in shalom. And unfortunately, not everybody wants to have peace, but it is up to us to live our life in a life of shalom. So there's a few different areas that we can kind of go with this today, Barry. What are you thinking? Anything jumping out at you?
Yeah, a couple of things, David. One is, and I've preached this many times. Lot is out in the plains of Sodom, and it says that his tent faced that direction. Now, he may have been thinking, I'll never end up in that city. I've got too many flocks and herds to live in town. But in order for them to acquire whatever goods that they didn't have, guess where Mrs. Lot went to shop? And I can see her that though she is wealthy in livestock and perhaps some gold and silver, she smells like herds of sheep and goats and cattle, etc. And anyone that's been around goats in particular can tell you that's a horrendous odor. So,
yeah, I don't see him making perfume or cologne out of it.
I don't. So I'm thinking that that she may have been wanting to be among the wealthy. instead of living in a tent, let's sell out everything, take our money, go into town. We can have a big house in a nice section of town. Everything will be convenient. We will be secure out here. We're alone. We're vulnerable to attack. I'm sure she reasoned with him. And they end up living in the city, and whatever wealth he brought in, he believed it brought him a position of prominence that we'll see next week as the tour cycles go, where you thought you were coming in and being influential here, is what the townsman said. So it's not good as far as the ultimate decisions that he made. Here's a principle that we need to understand. When Yah moves people out of our path, he told me one time many, many years ago over a given situation, if I move them out, you don't pray them back in. Now that's not for every situation. That's for those certain occasions where someone is divisive. There's your word, divisive toward the calling and the vision that the Father has given to us. And he moves them out. Yah will allow circumstances to boil to a head in order for people to reveal their true nature and calling, their true mindsets and positions. And when it causes a separation, let it go. Lot obviously wanted to do his own thing. Think about this, David. If they had stayed in Abraham's camp, Mrs. Lot would have influenced her husband to be contrary to Avram's vision and calling, and it would have always been a problem. It says that their herdsmen, their shepherds, were divided. To me, that's pastors that were on the different sides of doctrine and belief. You can love them, you can pray for them, but you can't always walk with them. Not always.
You know, it's interesting because I was just kind of going to go somewhat there, because what is a shepherd really? You know, what is the example of the shepherd, and what does it show us? And it shows that's what it is. It's to tend the flock of Yahweh, and what vision is being imparted to that? Is it back to Yahweh, or is it back to just a good life and let's have a good business and let's just make the best in this world? I mean, where's the emphasis of all of this? Interestingly, in Genesis 13:1, where it says that Lot chose the plain of Jordan and he journeyed east as they separated themselves. This phrase interesting is Mekedem is from the east. Mekedem was also used in the story of the Tower of Babel. It says a man journeyed from the east, Mekedem, but Mekedem is also the same terminology that's used in reference of Yahweh himself as like the Ancient of Days and the One of Old. We read in Psalms and in Micah. So the idea is our choices reveal our thought processes and our intent. Where is our pursuit? What is our goals? Are we searching through the scriptures to be faithful to that because of I love Yahweh and I want to deepen my relationship and all this with him? Or are we looking through this things with the scripture to try to justify ourselves or try to find the next thing that we can, well, I know more than you, or something else to be divisive over, when the scripture says test everything and hold fast to what is good, what does that mean? People often use this as a context of saying, okay, well, test everything. That means I have to go back and reveal every conspiracy theory, every pagan doctrine. No, that's not what it says. It says, these things that are coming across you, test the things that are here in your life and in your path. Yes, make sure that our hearts are submitted to Yahweh, but It's not to go use this as a witch hunt, pardon the terminology, to go find out everything in the world that's pagan, because then where is our focus? Our focus is everything that's pagan and everything that's wrong and the doctrines of demons and all these. And guess what? You're going to find it. Surprise.
It's kind of like Derek Prince was asked one time, I think it was Derek Prince, can a Christian have a demon? He says, if he wants one, he can. So if you want to go find demons set behind everything, go look. You'll find some somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. You see, I mean, it's not denying they exist or denying, the spiritual realm or anything, but it's the fact of where's your focus,
Yeah.
and our focus should be like Abraham's focus. Abraham, trusting Yahweh, put the ball in Lot's corner. Trusting Yahweh, he told Lot, you go wherever you want to go, and God will lead me where he wants me to be. I mean, that takes a big step of faith in Yahweh, because Abraham could be saying, well, see, I want to go to that area over there, and Yahweh already said he's going to bless me, so I know whatever I do, he said he's going to bless me. No, that's not what he did. He trusted Yahweh and told Lot, you make your choice on where you want to go. And after you make your choice, I'll look to Yahweh and see where he wants me to be.
So Lot's choice kept Avram from being where he wasn't supposed to be.
You could say that. Yeah.
Yeah. And another quick thought here. Lot is called righteous in Scripture, but righteous people don't always make the best decisions. Just because you're righteous doesn't mean all your decisions are the best. So it's not that people are bad. Sometimes Yah moves them out because their thinking and decision making is wrong.
Barry, I got one more thought in relationship here with Avram and Lot, is that when the time came, because of the division, Lot left, not Avram. It made me think, we're really quick to write people off when we have a disagreement or things are going in life, or we may be upset or arguing with them or whatever. We're really quick to just say, well, I'm just going to cut them off. I'm just not going to talk to them. I'm not going to have anything to do with them or whatever. But even that is not what we are told to do in Scripture. It's Lot that left, not Abraham who left. And so this kind of tells me, kind of like Yeshua when he says, so when you bring your offering to the altar, you and your brother have ought, go back, make it right with your brother, then come back and bring your offering, which their offering was a mode of worship. So what Yahweh is really saying, in my thinking, is let there be unity in the brethren, let there be unity with one another, and bring that whole heart to the altar. Let that come in. It's not like we're quick to cut off and divide, but yet Lot left because of the difference of division.
I've actually had to pray, Father, bless these people by putting them where they need to be, because obviously it's not here. They're not happy here. So will you please bless them and put them where you want them to be? And it's amazing that they would take a step and they would leave and go someplace that they were happy.
That's a good thought for us to have as well. It's like, so if we do feel we're in a relationship where it's not just a matter of, where am I happy, but am I living my life the way I should be? Am I living my life according to the Father? Because here's the problem as well. When we start to have a rough patch or disagreement, we automatically think somebody else is at fault, and obviously this isn't where God wants me to be. Maybe sometimes God is working us all over to help sandpaper, rub off those rough parts to help smooth us all out with one another. And that's where the prayer is definitely needed, Barry. Yahweh, we want people to be where Yahweh wants them to be.
That is true.
And we want all the right pieces in all the right places. If we're all parts of the body, we want the body to be established in all the right order.
Very, very true, brother. Very true.
Well, Barry, I think that puts us just about out of time. You want to take us out?
Sure. We'd love to hear from you. Questions, comments, subject matter to be discussed. You can reach us at Reunion Roadmap at B'nai Yosef tzefaniapappas.com. The next time, shalom, y'all.
Once again, we hear Ruth Banks with her song, I Need You. To find more of her music, visit her website at I Am Ruth. That's IAMRUT, IamRuth.com.
I've been lost before, searched around for any open doors. But what happens when I cannot see? I'm lost, wandering around aimlessly. I need you. The way, the life, the truth, Yeshua. I need you. The way, the life, the truth, Yeshua. I'm not lost anymore. You paved the way, you said, I am the door. No one can come before the Father without me. I'm the only way to the King. I need you. The way, the life, the truth, Yeshua. I need you. The way, the life, the truth, Yeshua. I need you to cover me. I need you to cover me. As I walk to you, I know you. And so I know you'll intercede. You pave the way so I can see. So I can see. You are my way to the King of Kings. I need you. I need you to cover me. The way, the life, that you're wanting, I know that you will not see. I need you. You pave the way, so the way, the life, that you're to the King of Kings. I need you. I need you to cover me, as I walk to you. I know that you will not see. You pave the way so I can see. You are the only way to the King of Kings, King of Kings. I need you to cover me, as I walk to you. I know that you will not see. You pave the way so I could see. You are the only way to the King of Kings, King of Kings. 'cause I wanna sing out to you that you will never see, but to see. You pay the way since I was here, could see. You are the only way to the King of Kings, King of Kings.
That was Root Banks, I Need You. We heard earlier Teshuvah, Faith in the Faithful, and those were the musical illustrations for the Midrash division or division. It was an interesting way that they contrasted these two things with the backdrop of the psalm of how good and pleasant it is for brothers to live together in unity. Tzefania, how does that strike a chord with you?
On our first trip to Israel, that as a couple that Raina and I had in 2003, when he told us, I am enlisting you as a soldier. Since that time, I've really thought a lot like a soldier, and we are actually, because we are fighting a battle. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. So what I was thinking about is division in regard to a military aspect, that you're talking about a particular army will have different divisions. And within that, those divisions, you have different operations going on, and they cannot break rank. When they break rank, they will stand in a place of defeat. And we see that throughout Israel's time as a nation. When they broke rank, they were defeated by the enemy. And so I think really when it talks about why it's good and pleasant for brothers to dwell together in unity, because we're in that place of shalom and protection.
That's quite right. And it fits with my experience. The word division in a military sense does mean what you said there. Now, the negative sense is division, meaning I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Right.
And Barry did rightly point out that sometimes it's necessary to just cease contact. But let's do that as the Father directs.
Yeah.
But otherwise, in the military sense, division might be likened unto tribes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Everyone's got their own culture, their own mission, their own way of doing things, serving the same purpose and the same leader, in our case, the same king, the Messiah King. Let's not throw stones at one another because we don't all do the same things exactly the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's keep helping one another along the path to complete our missions on behalf of our King.
Man.
Well, that is going to do it for this edition of Reunion Roadmap. Do check out our website, BneiYosefNA.com, BneiYosefNA.com. And if you are blessed by this program, please check out the donate button, and we would be honored if you would partner with us as the Lord leads. So on behalf of Tzefania Pappas, Barry Phillips, and David Jones, this is Al McCarn. Shavua Tov.
Thank you for joining us on Reunion Roadmap, a production of B'nai Yosef North America. Please come back next week for another visit with the people of the emerging house of Joseph here in North America.